snares of the devil. The enemy has him. You know what I'm saying? And we can sit here and we can march and we can hold up signs and do all that and saying we should overcome all we want to. But until we get out here and actually put boots on the ground, Dr. Haney, and really do something and really look at the means and methods that are available to us to make these changes happen in our life, we'll never make the change. And if we keep pushing back and pushing against the gospel rap artists and their music, and if these pastors keep disallowing them access into their churches where they got all these youth in a lot of situations gathered together, but at the same time, what point is it to gather them together when you don't feed them anything?
Very good. And of course, what we'll do is take our second commercial break, and we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Which is to say that we got 10 minutes coming up, and then we got another whole 30 minutes after this. Can y'all hold up all that?
No, I believe so. I'm getting warmed up.
Get started.
This is powerful. Yeah, that makes sense, you know. And because every morning you turn on the television, and some of the most heinous crimes, we got to be able to reach them, and so the two of you believe that this is a way that we might be able to motivate them.
It's a primary tool, I believe, because this is the influence of modern day time.
Well, let's don't say too much.
Okay, gotcha.
Thank you, and welcome back to the final segment of the show for today. We're talking to Pastor KWalker and Minister Perkins in reference to methods whereby we might be able to mobilize and motivate African American youth. And let us take the last 10 minutes that we have here, Pastor Walker, to have Minister Perkins to start off with this last 10-minute segment, to give us some further information in reference to how he has encouraged and how he is encouraging African-American youth, and not only African-American youth. I think we've tried to indicate that what we say about African-American youth deals with all of the youth, male and female, that we are working with, but we do understand that the African-American youth, male, has a very, very special kind of problem in this world. Go on.
And to be honest, in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, it speaks about the stronger edifying the weaker. And as Christians in this world, and I call this is actually a charge to all Christians in the world. If you say you love your neighbors, you love thyself, then when you see your brother fall, you're supposed to be able to pick him up. If he's white, black, green, yellow, orange. Well, we see this epidemic that's going on in our black neighborhoods. Our white neighbors, our Asian neighbors, our Hispanic neighbors, they see this problem. Well, where's the love at in seeing that you see your brother falling? And I'm going to go to a point where the God has been put in my spirit over the time that we need a voice. We need firm leaders that are going to be able to go out into these neighborhoods, into these places, and be able to tell these kids who they are. It's not going to be easy because the damage that's been done is going to take overtime. I mean, even in this capitalistic world, we're going to have to get out work and go put in some overtime to get our kids back. Well, God gave me a ministry called Crying Out to God Ministries. The Crying Out to God was basically me playing out to God in my storm and realizing that there was no one there to help and like me. We have to walk with these kids, not preach to them. That means that you got to be in the midst of them and walk with them to get the change. So that's what I do. The company I work for is 6 Man Movers. I'm a manager at the company, and we help all drivers of people, but we also help young black men that just got out of jail for incarceration. They're dealing with certain issues of life, and we motivate them and first off help them to get where they're going. The Bible said if a man don't work, he don't eat. That's the biggest problem. So we don't have these young men working no jobs. They didn't listen to what God said. That's his commandments. So we got to get them jobs. You ever try to witness or tell somebody something positive and their stomach's hurting? You ever seen someone come around and you try to give somebody some good information and they ain't had no sleep because of the chaos going on in their homes? So we have to basically feed them physically before we give it to them any other way. And would you give a man a stone if he asks you for a piece of bread? No. So this is Crying Out to God and About Their Life Ministries, and all these urban ministries are doing is that we're going to start where the bad parts is at, and then we're going to reach out. We got to get more attention to where it's bad at and then come out. then we can get everyone everywhere. But that's the tool that God gave me to need, and we're going to keep reaching the neighborhoods. We're going to be in everybody's neighborhood everywhere, and we're going to keep preaching this gospel and tell them that you are royalty and you are chosen by God. They need to know who they are and whose they are.
Pastor?
You know what? And I just want to clarify, because this is an all-encompassing ministry movement, right? When we talk about African-American youth, we're talking about youth. It's all-encompassing, you know, because when you think about it like this, Dr. Haney, you take a white youth that begins to identify with the secular hip-hop culture, begins to identify with thug life. Then what they're effectively doing, they're placing themselves in a place of victimization themselves. So now the system looks at them differently, you know, and especially a lot of time when you talk in terms of white privilege and the like, you know. So now what they've done, they've actually, and people say, well, white privilege ain't real, it is. But what they've done, in fact, they've given up their white privilege to an extent. Because at the same time, the police come into a crowd of blacks mixed with white, they're going straight for the black people first anyway. And to an extent, they've given up some of their white privilege, but because they're intermingling and intermeshing with that, then they have also placed themselves as victims in this situation. And I say victims because that's what people are, victims. Our children, our youth are victims of this mega music industry that is targeting them to program them with a poisonous mindset so they can go out here. But they've been trained to hurt themselves. They've been trained to kill up each other. They're seeing the people in the videos shooting down and gunning down one another. They're seeing the drug deals. They're seeing the glorification of the prison system. There's no glorification of the prison system. I've been to prison. There's nothing glorified about being locked down inside of a prison. Can't leave when you want to. Got to go eat when they tell you to eat and eat what they tell you to eat. You know what I'm saying? Being in a cell when they want you in the cell and out of the cell when they want you out of the cell. There's nothing glorifying about that. People in this prison system right now, they glorifying gangs in prison, showing them running stuff. Man, how you running stuff? You can't leave. If you was really running something in the prison, why would you leave?
If you were running stuff, you'd run out.
Yeah, run out, leave. Then go outside, go in the parking lot, get in your car and leave and come back that night. If you're really running something, you ain't running nothing, man. It give you the false sense that you're running something in the prison, but whenever they get ready for you, they get their shields, they get their riot gear, and they come up in there and they storm your cell, snatch you up out of there, pull your clothes off, throw you in a hole naked somewhere, and keep you locked down for 23 hours. They let you out for 1 hour a day for exercise, and you talking about you running something. Man, you ain't running something. You've been deceived. You've been poisoned, and it's all been injected into our mindset through this music that's out there that we have to counteract and bring forth this gospel rap antidote to feed a positive message to our youth with a beat that goes with it, and that's what we're trying to do.
And so we call this motivating and mobilizing African-American youth, and the only way that we can do it is through the gospel. Is that what we're saying, Pastor Perkins?
I believe that it's a major tool. I believe that basically, if you think about it, in the 90s, right before this era had came up to effect, most of the gospel rap music was positive, motivated music. It was telling us to fight the power. It was telling us to stand firm as who we are and what we were. And then all of a sudden, if you notice between 95 coming on up into like the early 2000s, on up into the middle of the early 2000s, music had changed. And it was glorifying abusing women. It was drugs. I'm a gangbang, I'm a drug dealer, I'm a killer, I'm this and I'm that. And then it expanded and it got worse. And then you find men talking about that they don't want to do this. They don't want to be a father. They don't want to be a dedicated man. But you know what? There is a system that's out here to perpetuate that cycle. Hate to say it, be honest. The truth will set us free. Yeah. If these kids know this, then you will realize that you're a target. You know what? 1 out of every 3 black men got an expected chance to go to prison before the high school. We have to understand that it's not just targeting those black people and trying to wake them up. It's because they are in their worst state. As Christians, that should be our goal. Our goal is to edify the weaker. You know what I'm saying? If you, God said he'll leave the 99 to save the one. I mean, if the 99 is in good standing, we need to go over there and go get that one. Why is this nation not paying attention to that? But then we want to be scared when we look on the news and see another black man that done killed someone, or they done killed each other, or we see that somebody done broke into your house or your car because you're not putting the time into what you call making America great again. So now I believe that this rap music has been a poison to our children, our youth from all colors. So if it's a poison, then just like how you take the flu shot, it's the virus itself that they put some things in it and then they make the antidote for you. That's the same thing that gospel rap is to our nation right now. You take that same poison You put something in it, and then you turn around, and when you inject it back into them, though, it heals them.
Pastor, you close us out for today.
You know, Dr. Haney, there's so much, man, that to be said about, you know, the secular music industry and the gospel rap music industry. And the differences and also the similarities. You know, like my brother was saying, when this secular rap music came out, it wasn't about what it is today. You know, it was an empowering message. Tupac had some wisdom out there he was throwing out there. They had to get rid of Tupac. Tupac could not live because Tupac had went against the established norm. You know, Tupac was, well, hold on, this is not right. You know what I'm saying? You wanted me to poison my people instead of enlighten my people. And from his background that he come from, with that Black Panther background, you know, the light bulb came on. And so Tupac, you know, he was a casualty to what they were trying to do. So they had to get rid of him. And now we're trying to bring back some reality, man, to life and educate our youth, Dr. Haney, as to what's really going on, because they're being taught to degrade themselves, to be less than. And they've been taught this, and we've got to step in there using the same vehicle and just put in the right stuff and teach them the right thing so we can guide them into the right pathway, motivate them with that, and then we can get them together. We can mobilize them to be a force within themselves to make a change.
And so, Minister, closing out for today, we can simply say words have meaning, and the meaning that they have to our young people, we can use in order to create a situation so that they will be motivated and mobilized, and we might be able to at least deal with the problem that we're facing. And so I want to thank the two of you for coming by and giving us that excellent information. And let me encourage you to tune in again next time. And thank you and good morning. Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is musically motivating and mobilizing African American youth. And we're fortunate to have with us to talk about methods whereby African American youth might be mobilized and organized through music, Pastor KWalker and Minister TPerkins. And of course, Pastor Walker, I think that our audience is probably familiar with you, and they might not know you up until now, Minister Perkins, but they will know you after this show this morning. And of course, what we'd like to do, Pastor Walker, is to have you and Minister Perkins to give us some information about your background, education, and some of your experiences, and then we'll be able to talk about methods that might be used to motivate and activate, in a real sense, African American youth. Let's start off with you, Pastor Walker.
Okay, Dr. Haney, thanks again for having me on the show. Pastor Kelvin L. Walker, native Nashvilleian, born right here in the state of Tennessee, in the city of Nashville. Attended the public school system of Nashville, Davidson County, up until around the 10th grade when I was actually expelled from the entire school system. They charged me with extortion. Of course, I can't deny the charge, Dr. Haney, because I did it. From there, I had experience in the United States Navy. At the young age of about 15, I shot an individual, and Judge Richard Jenkins saw fit to send me into the military as a more effective means of helping me and rehabilitating me than anything else. But of course, during that period of time, I had already started experimenting with drugs, and when I got into the military, my drug usage just enhanced, by going on different states, different countries and stuff like that, experiencing different drugs and everything like that. Came out of the military after 19 months, a drug addict, but at the same time, I had a desire to continue my education, got a GED from OIC Opportunities Industrialization Center, and from there I went on to Tennessee State University for a period of time, back in I think 74, 75 year, and from there left school because of my drug addiction, my heroin addiction. Went on to try to sell drugs and still got caught up in that street life. Back then, they called themselves thugs. Now we're just plain old hustlers and hoodlums, whatever. And but that led me down a pathway up until 1986 when God divinely intervened in my life, called me into ministry on August 24th, 1986. And for the last 31, almost 32 years now, I've been on the battlefield, man, trying to get out here and make some difference in people's lives, make some changes, and more importantly, to spread the love of God as God intended for it to be spread, for the sole purpose of glorifying Him.
Minister Perkins.
Yes, sir. Actually, my name is Minister TPerkins. AKA Never Void. I am a gospel rapper also as a pastor. A minister. I'm from Nashville, North Nashville, Tennessee. Born and raised actually. And give a little bit of my background. I came up with a mother and father. My father was from New York City. Came from Black Panther, black, strong, powerful man. But sometimes in life, you can put yourself in a position with your family that if you're not sound-minded, you can place you and your family in bad positions. And I came up in a background, man, with a lot of kids that have their mothers and their fathers. And I was more looking at more for love and more, you get tired of up and downs. And that's what economically I noticed in our family was going up and down. We had great times, we had lesser times. And I find myself going out there to the streets trying to make means to grow, make more money, they live better, I want to have more. And in the midst of that, I find myself being out there and I wind up getting shot, paralyzed from the waist down, and I had to learn how to walk again. In the midst of that, God allowed me to go back to school, graduate high school with a 3.5 and try to press on, end up getting caught up again because I was already stuck in the madness, gang banging a little bit on the side. I was playing the double-minded state. And I find myself going to prison, almost actually with first-degree murder. God allowed me to get my sentence overturned. And I actually did 6 years in prison, got out, and I'm still trailing that trail as being a man on parole and all this, but God's allowed me to become a minister, a strong, devoted man to the neighborhoods and the city, and I'm actually given an opportunity to give back what I believe that was taken by some of the things that I've done and help some of these youth, men, women, all of the above, to edify themselves inside and out.
Pastor.
Dr. Haney, I was just sitting here listening to my brother, and I just realized, these different traps that both he and I fell into. You know, now let me say it like this. Now let's be clear that we make our own decisions as to what we're going to do. So you know, just like the traps out here, then there are other areas. You know, he made a decision to go back to high school and finish high school, and he got out of that with a 3.5 GPA. But you know, we also made decisions to fall into the traps that has been systemically designed to trap us, you know, and when we fall into those traps, then but the gang banging, the drug dealing, and the street life that's been put in front of us through this music. That's what we're talking about, musically motivating and mobilizing African American youth, and that it's a systemic design through music to entrap and enslave the minds of individuals to guide us on a pathway that we don't want to go on.
Very good. So what we'll do, we'll take our first commercial break, and we'll be back with our audience following this short commercial break. 10-minute segment, and so y'all still have a lot of time. We'll cover some ground. This is excellent.
Yeah.
This is excellent. You see, looking at your background and the situation that you found yourself in, and et cetera, and to have the two of you to talk about something like this, that ought to be. Thank you and welcome back to the second segment of the show for today. We're talking to Pastor Walker and Minister Perkins in reference to methods to mobilize and activate African American youth. And Pastor, let's see if we can continue our conversation by having you, Minister, to start us off with this segment.
And what us being on this show talking about motivating, mobilizing our youth through music. When I was coming up, actually, like I said, I graduated from McGavick High School. And when I went to McGavick, there was negative influences even inside of the place what we call suburbia. You know, I went to those parties in the suburban neighborhoods and seen things that you can't even see in the urban neighborhoods because they have more access to things. So it's everywhere. It's an epidemic of negativity everywhere. That music was an influence to all cultures. Actually, the #1 buying sellers of secular music, rap music, are white America. And so with that being said, with this music and what I've decided to do, I have a ministry that I have with brothers called About That Life. About That Life is basically letting these kids know that no matter where you come from, there is a way out. There's a better way. You know, God did not choose you to be in a state that you are in, if it's poverty, if it's mental, economical, whatever it may be. God has a purpose and a plan for you. And what we do is we want to hit the neighborhoods and areas where it need to be hit. So what we're doing is we're doing tours all over the city right now. On May the 27th, we are going to Bad Street. It's 3447 Brick Church Pike. We are starting there. This is the second day of the tour. We're doing it every Saturdays, and we're hitting every neighborhood to try to reach the kids and tell them this is an issue, to be brief about it. The kids don't feel like that God sees them or acknowledges them. They can't relate to God. Tradition has pulled them away to the point that God will not accept them for who they are. God accepted all of us who we are. And what happens is tradition is say, well, you can't come this way or come that way. And we have to reach in the inside of them and let them know that God had appointed you too to be a part of his kingdom, a part of his way. And we're using this music and these tours to be able to reach each one of them.
You know, Dr. It's amazing that, as Brother Ty said, that the biggest purchasers of secular rap music are white Americans, white American males, I believe. And it's a wonder. You know, it makes you think about that, because when he said that, man, the thing went through my mind. They're the biggest purchasers of the music, but we're the most affected by it. We experience the most, African Americans experience the most negative effects of it. So I'm wondering, are you buying the music, someone buying the music just so that they can put themselves, you know, associate and connect with it, or connect with us in terms of that particular culture, or are some buying the music just to see what it is, the tool that's being used to negatively affect us, so they can figure out how to better enhance it. So, you know, it makes those thoughts like that go through my mind, man, because that music is a devastating thing, man, you know, that's being used to control people. You know, just like I heard, I think Malcolm said years ago, he made a statement, said, the Holy Bible in the hands of the white man in America is his most ideological weapon used to enslave them and capture the minds of black people. And the same thing, I think, applies with this secular rap music, because it does indeed enslave the minds, and it drives people away from an ideal way of living life to a less than ideal way of living life. It gives people a jungle type mentality, a mentality absence of morality.
Beast made.
And see, what's happening is, if you take that music and you put that out there in the ears of our youth, and at the same time our youth are not being trained up like the Bible said in the way that they should go, so that when they go, they won't depart from it. If they're not being trained up, even though many of them are inside the church and are yet not being trained up, but their flesh is being ministered to, but their spirit is not being taught. So now they got this other thing on the other side that's teaching them the negativity, and there's an absence of the positive message going forward. So now they gravitate to what's speaking most loudly in their consciousness. So we got to replace that. When we talk about musically motivate, we got to motivate them through some positive lyrics, using a beat that attracts them. We can motivate them through some positive lyrics and capture that mindset and teach them. Because once I get you in there with the beat, I can educate you with my lyrics. Because if you're hearing the beat and your body can still move to the beat, and see, that's the problem with the church. We're afraid that if the beat come in the church, the people gonna automatically move to the beat. And we're scared of that because it's gonna make us look like we're not religious. Forget about being religious, man. Let's think about saving people's lives. So, okay, the rap music comes into the church and the people body move to the beat, but the youth who know how to hear this stuff, they hearing the lyrics and it's changing the mindset. So now you're creating, you're motivating and creating a better people that can then be mobilized to go and reach out to other people. That's why we got to go out there. These tours out here, these people are talking about, is designed to go out, and not only within the church, but outside of the church in our communities. Man, let me tell you, Dr. Haney, we should do, I set up in the communities, man. I set my speakers up, my systems and all that stuff up, and we should be out there in the street ministering to people like that. Man, one day some rap artists came through there, and I'll tell you who was an everlasting soldier, Mr. Shouty, and his partner at the time, Deacon Vic. They came through there, man, asked for the microphone. We gave them the microphone, man. Everybody's out there setting up, doing all these things. Someone was over there listening to it. But when them brothers grabbed that microphone, man, it was like turning the lights on in a bug-infested kitchen, man. You seen them coming from everywhere running because that beat drew them there. But when they got them lyrics, man, I don't know who mindset got changed that night, but I bet somebody mindset got changed. But they came to that. It draws them to that. If we can draw them to an arena where they can hear something positive, then that positive seed gonna be planted. The thing is, plant that seed. Who knows who waters it, Dr. Haney, but we can plant it.
And so, Minister, you've been making tours. Talk about some of these.
I wanted to say this in the midst of that, with the piggyback off Pastor Walker.
We got a whole segment after this going.
What it is that these tours are basically like, we have 13 different men from 13 different genres. We have Chance Cole McBay, which is, we call him Cole, which is a white brother. We have DP, which is a white brother. We have a couple of, we have Travis Angus, which is Proof. We have KDV, which is Kedrick Vance. We have King Antonio, which is Antonio French. And I myself, which is Minister TPerkins, which is also known as Never Void. We are going and we're trying to relate to these kids in the way of, and enlighten them on who they are. Okay, first off, the music is a gate opener. But the seed is being sown as the word is coming behind it. We just trying to sow seeds. The same way the negative seeds are being sown, we just like weeds in a garden. Weeds grow faster than the crop do in the garden. So that means that you got to put in more work into the harvest because the weeds are going to overtake it. And that's what we trying to do with this music. We got to put in double time, overtime. These men are getting off work in their work clothes, going and ministering in every neighborhood in this city, everywhere, because we are trying to sow seeds in this garden.
Very good. And of course, I think we're ending this show for today. Is this the second segment for today? Is that right? And so what we'll do, we've got 10 minutes when we come back, and we'll be able to wind this down.
Okay.
We'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break.
Hey, you get to talking, boy.
Hi.
Sound like you
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he was too,
I
but
was.
I seen your body move. I said,
I didn't know, right?
wrap it up.
Yeah, I'm ready to
that's the key right there, bro.
That's the key. I'm more
But
the
see,
body
this is
language.
what this is the sixth segment, or whatever, you know. But yeah, I knew that. I knew it was the 8-minute segment or the 10-minute segment. I didn't know it.
we got that first one so quick. I forgot.
Yeah,
I thought it was in the first.
Gotta chop it up quick.
We got just 10 minutes. Yeah, we got 10 minutes.
Okay.
This is the final segment
All right.
of that. Thank you and welcome back to the final segment of the show for today. We're talking to Pastor KWalker and Minister TPerkins in reference to motivating and mobilizing African. Thank you and welcome back to the final segment of the show for today. The topic is motivating African American youth through music, and the guests are Pastor KWalker and Minister TPerkins. And let me say during this last segment, gentlemen, that what we'd like to do is for you to sort of wind up what you've been talking about over the last few minutes, and we've got about 8 minutes to do that. And so, Minister Perkins, let's start with you and give you about 3 or 4 minutes, and Pastor Walker, and then perhaps back to you, and have Pastor Walker close us out for today.
Motivating our youth through music and mobilizing them. They listen to music they call trap music. Just listen to the cliche in it. Trap. It puts you in a trap. You ever go into certain neighborhoods, especially with the gentrification going on, like in East Nashville? You see the projects right here. It's a trap. They don't step outside of that circle. It's to put your mind state in a box. And that's what this music is for. I want to tell everyone that's out here, these youth, that music is a trap for who you really need to be, with to better yourself. If you want more out of life, then that music you listen to is an influence. Death and life is in the power of the tongue. So every word that proceeds out of your mouth or what you soak in, you become it. You are product of what you listen to in your environment. But why is it that you can see someone in a $500,000 house and live legitimately, but you got to go sell dope to go get it? So you're going to settle for that? So like I said, with this music, let's think about it. The contemporary music we call today contemporary music was one juke joint music, which was banned from the church. The church, you wouldn't do it. It was hymns and songs back then. You didn't use that type of music. But men that was called upon God had decided that, you know what, this music is effective. And with that word of God, it changed people. And that's the same thing with rap music. We're going through the same thing that our elders had went through when they had changed contemporary music to what it is today. And I want to educate our people and our youth, and even them that are listening to the music that are not African American, is that you need to be helping us motivate to edify our people. It's time for change, and this music is going to bring growth into enlightenment. I see a lot of young people are raising up for the standard. They are coming to the knowledge of the truth, and that music is helping. This music is a food. It's a seed and salt for the food. And I just want to put this as a closing, is that we are doing tours over Nashville. Look up About That Life Ministries on Facebook and any social media page. Look up Crying Out to God. You'll see ministers like Travis Angus, Kedrick Vance, Never Void, King Antonio. If you go to any social media page like Facebook, you can look on there, look about their life and crying out to God. Find out these ministers. Get your kids involved. Let them know that God loves them for who they are, and He's going to help them to make the change. We don't know personally who makes the increase, but we know God does. But what we do is we're going to sow the seeds. So let's keep sowing these seeds so we can get this increase for our kids.
And so, Pastor Walker, this is another method whereby we might be able to reach in. As a matter of fact, it appears to be a very, very effective method considering what our young people are involved in today.
It's very effective, Dr. Haney, when you consider this. This is what they're listening to. You know, the beats is what they're moving to, and they're listening. This is